Bambies, Kaleidow here, and welcome back to another tiny homes video in the Sims 4. So today I'm actually re-recording this audio because I think this is the third or fourth time I've tried. Last night it just did not work out. There was just way too much noise happening in my building. And then this morning when I tried again, well, of course we had builders come for the place next door and they were renovating it all this morning, so there was a lot of noise, and that's why this video is out late. I'm so sorry guys if this notified you and it woke you up. I'm very sorry. I apologize, and I'm going to try to upload these more on time, which is around like 1:30 a.m. for Australians, but it's like a better time for everybody else in the rest of the world. But yeah, anyways, today we are building a modern tiny home, and I'm really excited for this because I never usually do these sorts of houses. So it was kind of different for me, and I of course had actually a video which I will link down below because it's an amazing commissioned tiny home that is in real life. But that's what I was inspired by. It was a tiny home created just for a author, and I think that's really cool. So I tried to make sure to include some little like bookwormy sort of details into this home. Now this house is super duper thin. It's only 3 wide and then it's kind of long, you know, but we have a whole bunch of giant windows, and I really like that about modern houses. They seem to be able to chuck in these giant windows that usually go from like the floor level all the way up to the ceiling, and I kind of use that space in the loft, which is actually very different to the tiny home that I was inspired by. It was all one level and the loft was just a tiny little space above the kitchen and the bathroom. But yeah, so ours is sort of a bit of a jumble because the house is just so thin. I tried to make it longer to make up for it so then we could fit in more stuff into it. And the kitchen at the beginning, I kind of didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I didn't know where I was going to put the stove, and I eventually get it right. I put the stove next to the fridge, which is kind of a weird thing. You wouldn't think that you would put something hot next to something that's supposed to be cold, but actually growing up, our fridge is right next to the stove in my childhood home. So if you guys haven't watched that, I've actually recreated my childhood home recently. I'll leave a card for you guys if you are interested, but I usually would think that a stove shouldn't go next to something that's supposed to be cooling, but I think fridges do fine with it. Like, they're built to be able to withstand stuff like that. So anyways, I just tried to ignore that, and later on I feel like the house just comes together more when I put the appliances in that little corner there. And our bathroom is so tiny, guys. It's literally 3 by 1. So we have one side is a shower and the other side is the toilet, and there's no sink in there. Now, if was a in real life house, I would have tried to like put in a tiny in the wall kind of sink, you know, like the ones that they have on an airplane. That's sort of what I would have done, but we don't have anything like that in The Sims 4, and it just would have not been usable with the gameplay. So I just decided that we're going to sacrifice the sink in there for the tiny home purpose, and I guess our Sims can wash their hands in the kitchen, which is kind of unfortunate, but oh well, it's still functional, I suppose. So in the kitchen here above the fridge kind of alters a lot. I put in some cabinets there. I really like that I started off with the window at the top. I think I pushed the window down onto counter level, but later on I put it back up, and then we have a yellow feature wall there. But I think I show you guys that later on. At the beginning of the build, everything is starting off pretty monotone, I suppose. Everything's like just light woods, white walls, and some black accents here and there. And even though that's a style that's really, really lovely, I feel like it's a little bit safe too. And watching back on the video that I was inspired by initially, I realized that this house was quirky. It had so many cool little things about it that were just very personal. So yeah, later on into the video, I do change it up a bit. I also, going into this build, was thinking that I was going to build it minimal. So I suppose that might be why I started off like with everything being just very simple. But yeah, I do change it up. I was going to call, like, I'm not sure what I'm going to call this build yet even, but I might still call it like minimalist trailer or something like that. But I always add clutter into my houses, you guys know that, and I'm really happy that you guys like it, because so many people sometimes, not all the time, tell me that they don't like the clutter, that I overdo it, but then more people actually enjoy it. So I think I'm just gonna do me, and I was holding back at first, but later on you're gonna see I do add in all of my clutter, and I just feel like it wouldn't be a Kaleidow build without all of the junk in it, you know? Oh man. So we have that small little lounge there. I wish we had some more simple modern lounges to work with in The Sims 4. We really have like a lacking of, and I realized that quite quickly. I usually build traditional builds, so I just never realized that we actually are missing out on some modern stuff. We have so much traditional stuff. Oh gosh, now we're up into the bedroom loft. So in The Sims, we can't have a raised area on the same height, on the same level of the house, if that makes any sense. Like, we can't have a ladder and go up onto like a half wall or anything. That would be really cool if we could, but unfortunately we cannot. So for me to have a loft in this house, I had to create a top floor, and we had that giant bulky good old staircase in the middle of everything. And I feel like that kind of was the centerpiece of the whole build, and I really had to work around it and kind of, problem solve around it. I feel like if we did have any ladders or smaller staircases, maybe like a spiral one that was more compact, I would have had so much more space to work with. Maybe our bathroom could have been a little bit bigger, but oh well, oh well. And I did have to eventually make the bedroom a little bit bigger too, so then it could be used in game. Again, everything is looking so white and pristine in here, but eventually I do add in a lot more color. I feel like I was just very safe at the beginning of this. I was thinking minimal and just thinking like, okay, what is the most plain and maybe the cheapest route that we could go for a house. But I just kind of like, I don't know what happened. I just got more inspired by the original, and I just kind of went with it and did something a little bit more creative. But yeah, this is such a fun room up here. I really like how we have that big open space with the full-sized window that reaches up to the ceiling, and it is like the 2-story ceiling. It's really, really awesome. I feel like that would feel great to look down into. And later on, I do add in some skylights too. So I feel like everywhere you look in this build, you would just be encapsulated by like light, and the way that the light would just like drift and filter into the home would just be so pleasant, and it would really feel like you're a little bit outside rather than just, inside all the time. Speaking of which, I built this house in Granite Falls, so haven't done a build in here for so long, guys. I swear I've forgotten about Outdoor Retreat. Oh my gosh. There was recently there was a Sims 4 most disliked or worst game packs for The Sims 4, and the Sims community did it, and I swear I think Outdoor Retreat was pretty high up there, which I don't know, I like Outdoor Retreat, but it's so like, I don't know, underwhelming, I suppose. Like, it's such a beautiful world, but yeah, it is just a little bit underwhelming, isn't it? Oh well, I think the world is really gorgeous and it works so well to do builds like this one, which is kind of more inspired by like the more alpine national park areas in the US. Or, you know, in Canada too. I really want to visit some of the national parks in Canada. They just look absolutely amazing. So actually the reason why I moved the stove into this corner was because it didn't really fit. I didn't know how to make the exhaust fan work with the too high ceiling. So I actually put the sink there, and that works out so well. I really like that I did that. It worked out completely great. And then while you're doing your dishes, you can look out to nature. I think that would be so lovely. We also have a computer in here. We have a big bookcase, and of course a nice comfy lounge. I did have a TV. I'm not sure if at this point I've deleted it yet, but I do delete it just because I thought, you know, they are in the wilderness, and possibly because, you know, it's based on an author's tiny home. Maybe it's their retreat to get away from technology a little bit, even though they have a Mac computer that's actually for writing on. I don't think they would have Wi-Fi. Possibly have Wi-Fi, but TV, maybe not so much. Like, I just don't feel like this is the house to have a giant curved TV in, so it didn't really fit, and I got rid of it later on. And we also have a whole bunch of different paintings and photographs that I've kind of framed and put around the place, because I thought that would be just like give a really lovely personal touch to the whole home and just make it feel more like a home, you know? I feel like stuff like that really pulls together a home. And in The Sims, when you're decorating, I feel like some people forget to make the home feel personal, and it's only when you get into actually playing in a household that you realize, like, oh, I'm gonna put in some photos of that my Sim has taken and stuff like that, which you guys can do. Let me know down below. Do you guys, if you play My Tiny Houses, do you paint? Do you take photos on your phone, on your Sims camera, and do you print them out, like grab them out of their inventory and place them around your home? It's something that I want to do more often in my Let's Plays, because it's so underrated. I don't do it as much as I should do, and I feel like you can really make your houses feel more personal doing it that way, and it's also a lot more fun too. Anyways, I'm really happy with the color scheme that we've got going on right now. It does get a little bit more quirky later on when I add in the feature walls, as I said before. Well, are they called feature walls? I actually, there's another word for it, but I can't remember. Guys, I can't wait until I start like being a homeowner in the far future. Hopefully not too far away, but when I am a homeowner, hopefully my vocabulary when it comes to houses will just expand a bunch, because there's so many things that I'm like, what is that? You know, the thing that's above that thing. And it makes sometimes commentating in these videos really hard, but most of my knowledge comes from watching other people renovate their houses here on YouTube. I really like the one, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've forgotten the name of the channel, but they are renovating a old country house, and it's a couple, and they're so adorable, and they've just painted all of the rooms white, and they just have these gorgeous like floors, the original floors of this country house, and it's huge. Like, well, to me it's huge anyways. I really like this house anyways. I've been following it, but yeah, I can't wait to be able to do something like that myself. Maybe when I'm renovating my own home, I will start a channel of my own, and we could get ahead and maybe do reno videos. And oh gosh, I'm not really a handy person. Like, I did woodwork in grade 7, but I wasn't that great. I think I made a spoon, but it was not an actual spoon. It did not look like a spoon. I think it still looked like a rectangle. Like, it didn't look good at all. Oh no. But I did make some tools for my little sister, and that was a lot of fun. I made her a saw, I made her a hammer, and what else did I make? A ruler! And it was just meant to be a little tool set for her. I never got to give it to her, unfortunately, but I'm sure I still have it at home somewhere. I might give it to her one day. But anyways, we're coming along with decorating everything now. I'm so glad that we pushed out one side of the room for the loft bedroom. It actually adds kind of an abstract aspect to the build, because it kind of, like, when you're looking at it from the front, it just looks kind of irregular, but it's still a rectangle, you know, and I feel like it did work out in the end, even though it was actually an error. It's only like, in real life, you wouldn't have to do that. It's just that for our game to work and our Sims to actually hop into the bed on both sides, I had to do it. So anyways, it looks good in The Sims. I don't think you would need to do that in real life, although I do like the look of it. And I even got to extend the roof a little bit so it's offset, and I think it gives a really interesting look to the home. So I'm pretty happy with it anyways. The outside of the home is, I guess, pine wood sort of paneling on it. And I think it really mirrors the wilderness around it. I feel like a lot of the woods that are used in the house are probably locally sourced, maybe even from the forest that they're in, and probably a lot of reclaimed wood. I feel like the floorboards especially, I chose ones that looked really rickety and old. They have some character for sure, maybe some tales to tell. But yeah, I feel like all of the floorboards would definitely be reclaimed, maybe from an old church or an old school or something like that. Now, I added a front garden onto this house. You guys can go ahead and delete the plants that I've put in there and add in some of your own veggies or herbs or whatever you want. But I think that would be such a nice little thing to do when you're living in a tiny home, is to also grow some of your own vegetables and stuff. And I kind of feel like this house is semi off the grid. So they would definitely have gas for their stove, and then they would have solar panels. That's for sure they would. And maybe we could just say that these are solar panels, but actually they're skylights. But we could just pretend that they are solar panels. They kind of look like solar panels if you're looking at it from far away, because they're like a little bit bluey black. But I can just dream. I really, really wanted us to get the off-the-grid sort of living pack in The Sims 4. It would have been really cool to have some decoration items like solar panels, but unfortunately, that did not get voted in, and Laundry Day did. I have no idea. Oh, my cat is on my keyboard. But yeah, I have no idea how laundry got voted in. You guys apparently like it, but oh, speaking of laundry, I actually ended up deleting the dryer and washing machine that were underneath the staircase. I put a fireplace there instead. I think either one looks cool. If you guys want to put your dryer and stuff there, you definitely can replace that when you download the house. Pretty easy peasy. But I just thought the fireplace was a lot nicer, and it's also in that sort of high ceiling space, and you know how warm air rises, so I feel like it would really circulate in the home and go straight up into the bedroom and just really warm up the whole home, especially in winter. You know, I feel like this place, we don't have seasons yet in The Sims 4, unfortunately, but I feel like Granite Falls, it's like a alpine sort of area, or is it taiga? I think it's taiga. So it probably gets really cold in the winter, maybe even snows in the winter. That would be really cool if we had snow. But yeah, all of the windows in this, even though they're really big ones, I reckon they would be those thermal heat ones that hold everything, like hold the heat in. But yeah guys, now we are up to the screenshots. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. I really enjoyed doing this modern build. It was so different to my usual one, so let me know if you would like to see some more just like this one, or maybe a little bit more quirkier. We'll see how we go. But yeah, today's code word is going to be mini, so make sure you comment down below that word and I will be favoriting all of the comments that include the word mini for the first day that this video is up. But yeah guys, I hope you all have a fantastic day. I love you all to bits and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye!